Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. I'm pleased to have another original broadcast interview, this time with book author Ben Casnocha. He's the book author of My Startup Life. Now listen to this. Ben Casnocha started his first company at age 12. By the time he was 16, he was nominated for Inc. Magazine's Entrepreneur of the Year, and he's here today on Traders Nation. Ben, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you?
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Good. Listen, what brought you to write the book? It seems to me like you're a very, very, very busy person. How'd you find the time to write it, and why'd you write it?
Well, I love writing. That's number one. But more, I wanted to share my own entrepreneurial journey with others, some of the things I've learned, the mistakes I've made, and also have a conversation with readers about what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur, what does it take to be successful in business, and what's changing, what's different now, that wasn't the case, 5-10 years ago. Right.
Now listen, to be an entrepreneur, it has nothing to do with age, obviously, and some people may consider that to be a drawback, and maybe even something that holds themselves back. What would you say to anybody that's at any age that's looking to be an entrepreneur?
I think the most important thing to remember, especially when it comes to authors like myself or any other person that professes to have knowledge or insight, is that there's no single path. There's no top 5 list. There's no single quality. There's no single thing to remember to be a successful entrepreneur. There are a lot of different things. What's important is going on a quest to find out what's right for you. We're all different, so it's stupid to model yourself after Donald Trump or model yourself after me or anybody else.
Right.
But what is important is to soak in all these different perspectives and opinions, read all these articles and books about business, and then figure out what's going to work for you, what's going to make you successful.
Right. All right. Now, being an entrepreneur, or being successful, I should say, I mean, is it lucky, or is it just plain smart, or maybe is it a little bit of both?
I think it is a little bit of both. I mean, certainly you have to have some base level of intelligence, but beyond that, I think luck plays a big role, and I think there are ways that you can maximize your chances of being lucky. I mean, one of my big theories is that we should all expose ourselves to as much randomness as possible. So if you go out and attend kind of the random conference or meet the random person or maybe read a book that no one else is reading,
right.
You're going to interact with different kinds of ideas and people that other people aren't. And who knows, a lot of random things can happen. And for me, if I reflect on my own experiences, a lot of lucky things have happened from those interactions.
Right. Now, you talk about in your book establishing powerful networks. I'm an absolute advocate of that. Obviously, you need good key people to know. And how do you recommend people when they get started on their list of powerful networking people?
Well, I think, it's interesting because connections and relationships are certainly really important for business.
Yeah.
Although I think kind of networking has become a dirty word. I mean, it's kind of been abused by people who take too Machiavellian of a approach to the task, right? They're like really calculated. They really want to meet some big, powerful person, and so they try to network their way to that, or they take a very quid pro quo kind of approach, and they're always looking to get favors from people. I think a better mentality is learn to love relationships, learn to love meeting really interesting people, and then go out and meet kind of random people, meet people who you can help, and again, expose yourself to randomness in the sense of that you never know where any relationship will lead, and then work hard on follow-up and so forth, but don't be so calculated as many like networking guides instruct.
Okay, now, being an entrepreneur also is like being an athlete. Wouldn't you agree? You've got to stay fit mentally and physically. How does an entrepreneur do that?
Yeah, I think it's a great analogy because the entrepreneurial journey is full of ups and downs and struggles and failures and exhaustion.
Yeah.
I think if you're not committed at the outset to taking care of your body, I mean, I think there's kind of this stereotype that to be a successful entrepreneur, a successful person in business, you need to be working 80-hour weeks and no sleep and Coke and cold pizza and all these things.
Coffee.
And coffee up the wazoo. And I don't think those things are true. I think you can lead a happy, healthy life and also be a successful entrepreneur if you go in with that commitment on day one.
All right, you found your niche, and you got to get it out there. And one of the ways, of course, is to brand that. How does an entrepreneur go about branding themselves or their company?
Sure. I mean, we often talk about branding in the corporate sense, like developing a brand for your business, but I think it's probably equally important for the individual. I mean, I think it's important to be distinct in the market. There are a lot of entrepreneurs running around with a lot of the same ideas. How do you stand out? And you don't want to stand out in kind of the false way, right? I mean, personal branding is not about like spinning yourself or lying about who you are.
Right.
It's just about thinking who are you really, and how do people perceive you, and bridging that gap.
Right.
So it's making sure that the you that you project out into the world is the real you, and that's the you that people perceive. They see you as kind of an interesting, smart person.
Yeah, back to getting yourself out there into the market and finding your niche, Ben, is how do you price your services, let's say? How do you know what to price without pricing yourself out of the market? Because, pricing is very important. You don't want to leave too much on the table. You need to eat, but then you don't want to price yourself out of business either. So how do you get that first client base started with your pricing?
Well, I think pricing really hits on this larger theme in business, which is that we need to immerse ourselves in the customer base. We need to immerse ourselves in the market and really understand how much would people pay for this product. Let's talk to the customers and see how much they would pay and get some feedback. And I think there's this tendency, whether it's entrepreneurs or anybody in business, to kind of sit in your office and think about what the customer might want, or, gee, I wonder how much he'd pay or she would pay for this service, as opposed to going out there and getting in the trenches and talking to people about what value derives from this product, how much is this problem costing you, and how much would you pay for this kind of solution. Right,
all right. So you price your product. Now you got to get into product development. Is cheap, good, and fast? Is that the way to go?
I think the old line is you can get 2 out of 3, right? It can either be cheap and good, or good and fast, or fast and good.
Good and fast doesn't sound too bad.
Right, but I think what's interesting now is that there are all sorts of online services and technologies, especially if you want to start a software company or technology business, that you can connect with engineers or people all around the world. And I founded my company, I hired an engineer in Bangladesh.
Right.
That wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago. So you got cheap labor, smart labor, and geography is no longer a constraint.
Yeah. I also read in your book about an interim CEO. Give us a good example of what not to do when you're looking for somebody in a key position.
Sure, and that was a big mistake I made because I focused too much on qualifications and not enough on personal fit. I think when it comes to hiring people for your business or anytime you're working with someone, I mean, people are usually generally qualified. People generally will have the same amount of experience. I think what's really important is to figure out, do I like this person? Can I spend time with this person? So after I made that mistake with the interim CEO, the next hire we made, I spent time with his family. I went out and did social things with him. I spent hours in the car with him and really tried to figure out, do I like this person? Can I spend a lot of time with this person? Because that's what it takes.
Yeah, you're reading them from head to toe. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough. Ben, where can we find your book? Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the major bookstores, and all the small ones too?
All of the above. The book's called My Startup Life, What a Very Young CEO Learned on His Journey Through Silicon Valley. You can also check out mystartuplife.com.
All right, that's awesome. And once again, we appreciate Ben being on today. All right, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks so much.
All right, My Startup Life. Head on out to your favorite bookstore here today. Appreciate Ben being on. What a very young CEO learned on his journey through Silicon Valley. It's an awesome book. And I tell you what, you'll learn something from it, and we appreciate Ben being on today.